Hello. This is going to be my second video on the subject of anger. Uh, Anger is a subject that philosophers have been wrestling with for as far as we can tell back, all the way back. Very, very key topic. In the ancient world, you had Aristotle wrote on anger a great deal, and in his Nicomachean Ethics, he says to his son, he writes this book for his son on how to live a good life, right? And he says, anger is an important thing, and he says, you should give anger its due. And he says part of what it means to be a fully free man, as opposed to a slave, or he's living in a slave society that was extremely male dominated. So in the world that he lived in, being able to express anger freely was one of the privileges, one of the benefits of being a free man, right? Because a slave couldn't express anger freely. If they did, they could get whipped or worse, or killed, or horrible things could happen if a slave actually told his master what he thought of him, right? Likewise, women were not allowed to express anger freely, right? So Aristotle says anger is, being able to get angry is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's, right, as I said, it's a prerogative of being a free man. However, Aristotle says you've got to be really careful, because anger can consume you. It can mess up your life. It can mess up your relationships. So what you need to do is you need to make sure, when it comes to anger, that you express the right amount of anger to the right person at the right time, right? So what is absolutely not cool is if, the stereotypical, 50s dad, right, who is getting yelled at by his boss all day long, and then he goes home and takes it out on his wife, let's say, and then she takes it out on the kids, right? And so everybody, like Aristotle would say, that's an absolute disaster, right? Because everybody's sort of expressing their anger, getting angry at the wrong people, right? In the wrong amount at the wrong time, right? So anger should, Aristotle says, you should focus anger in the right places, like on the person, right, that is stepping on your toes, or disrespecting you, or disrespecting somebody or something that you love, right? Now, for Aristotle, he actually takes a pretty strong line on this. He says, failure to get angry at the appropriate time, for him, is a sign of, it's a sign of a couple of bad things. It means either you are a wimp, you're a wuss, that lets people walk all over you, and so you're a coward, right? It could mean that. Or more likely, Aristotle says, if you failure to get angry at the appropriate time, when somebody sort of disrespects your mother, or your family member, or your country, or your religion, whatever. Aristotle would say that demonstrates that, you probably don't love those people or those things as much as you think you do, or you would like people to think that you do, right? So for him, failure to get angry is a sign of that something's wrong, right? That you're of weakness, or of a lack of commitment and love for those things, right? Now, the Stoic philosophers came quite a bit after Aristotle. They were very skeptical, right? The Hellenistic philosophers, especially, they were very skeptical of Aristotle's take on anger. The one that I find most memorable is Seneca. Seneca has a whole beautiful, wonderful essay on anger. It's called On Anger. And in there he says, the problem with Aristotle's formulation is he says that once you get angry beyond a certain point, you're no longer capable of controlling it. So he says Aristotle's whole idea is deeply flawed because he's saying that, okay, you just have to focus anger in the right way and use it, like use the force, the dark side of the force, right? Like, and focus it on that thing. And Seneca says, well, okay, maybe that works when it comes to being mildly pissed off, right? Or being, basically like up to a certain point, maybe it's possible to control your anger. But there's a point at which you pass this threshold, and then, the way I always think about it is with analogy to alcohol, right? So it's possible if you are drinking, you can have depending upon a number of different factors, your genetics, your whether you're male or female, your body weight. I mean, there's a number of different factors, but generally speaking, you can drink a certain amount and still have control of your drinking. So let's say you have a job interview, right, tomorrow morning, but your friends are getting together and they want to have drinks, and you're like, it's fine. I can have a couple, right? I'll be fine, right? Well, probably you will up to a point, right? But there's a point at which you get drunk enough that you now no longer have the capability of properly gauging how drunk you are, right? Like you've passed that point. Malcolm Gladwell talks about this in his last book, Talking to Strangers, that at a certain point of inebriation, your hippocampus is blinking out. You no longer have short-term memory. You are actually not really forming memories in a correct way. So you have lost the ability to actually regulate and moderate your drinking, right? Well, the same thing I think goes for anger, right? I think it may be possible to control and focus anger up until a certain level of getting, let's say, anger drunk, right? But once you pass a certain threshold, anger has so completely clouded your mind. It has so totally taken over your limbic system and everything that you're anger drunk, basically, and you're not thinking clearly anymore, right? You may think you are, right? Just like the drunk person is like, I can drive, right? Like in their head, they think they're completely fine, right? To everybody else, it's obvious that they're fucking not, right? They're out of their mind. Well, it's like that too. When you're really, really angry, you may think that you are thinking straight and that you're fine, and you're not. You are absolutely not, right? You're in an altered state of mind, right? So Seneca says in his essay on anger that we should actually just try as hard as possible to not get angry at all. Now he says obviously you're going to get angry sometimes, but rather than trying to sort of moderate our anger and focus it, he takes more of a view of kind of almost like abstinence, right? Like just don't have it at all. That's the safer thing, right? Anyway, okay, well, I'll end that here, and I'm gonna have at least 1 or 2 more videos on anger because this is an absolutely fascinating, crucial topic. All right, thanks.